domination type stuff, and that'll be good for us to go to. It'll challenge us in a different way, and so you've got a game plan. A little bit the same as Michigan State, but not quite exactly, and that's always a challenge for us. And we need to stay out of foul trouble, you name it.
When you kind of look back through the film from that game, I mean, did you see, especially offensively, kind of what you thought you saw on the sideline?
Yeah, I didn't like our shot selection. Watching the NFL games?
Yeah.
All right. Well, let me just tell you, the Giants aren't playing.
Hey.
He's still getting paid. All right. So ask me that question again.
When you went back through and watched the film,
good.
Did it kind of confirm what you saw?
Yeah.
Just offensively?
I didn't love. We're actually a minute early, so. So after watching the Michigan State tape, you know what I saw is bad decisions and first of all, we had some bad decisions in transition and certainly shot selection that hurt us. And then when we got open looks, we didn't make a lot of them, so we didn't help ourselves out. And Michigan State created a whole bunch of that too. When you look at, you know, they had guys step into plays. I thought. Certainly Cassius Winston was super, but yet Aaron Henry made a big three in the second half, and every time we, you know, seemed like we were there, they answered. You know, they answered. We could never just build on any lead, but that's just kind of the way it goes.
How did Glenn respond from that? Obviously, he had a tough night offensively. Cassius had the big game against him. Did he take it the way you would hoped?
Well, you know, Cassius got all of them. First of all, you know, I mean, there's some responsibility on everybody on every possession. So I thought that Glenn I think he'll bounce back well. And I thought that, you know, he looked at it and said, this is what we need to fix, and this is what, you know, has got to go better for us to be a winning team.
Despite the offensive struggles against Michigan State, you still have to remind the guys, like, hey, when it comes to it, we're still a pretty good offensive team.
Well, yeah, and here's the other thing is that we held Michigan State to their second lowest field goal percent, effective field goal percent, and their second lowest points per possession. So defensively, we were really solid against one of the elite teams in the country. You know, our guys, I think, have a great deal of confidence. I think they're disappointed in some of the decisions that they made in terms of being a really good offensive team against an elite defensive team.
Is there maybe a difference in if you have a tough shooting night on the road and then you come back home versus having a tough shooting night at home and then going on the road?
That's a good question. I really have never considered that. I just look at the next opportunity and say, this is where we've got to expose them, and this is the strengths they've got to that we've got to eliminate for them. I think that our decisions lead as much into as our shooting percentage as anything. I didn't think our zone attack was very good against Iowa when we didn't shoot well, and certainly our shot selection wasn't very good against Michigan State. It'll have to be great against Rutgers.
Do you look at the season at all in like stretches? You know, you just finished a 5-game stretch, now you're going to another one. Do you look at it all like that?
I try not to look at stretches because, you know, you start picking winners and losers, I think you're doing it wrong. So honestly, I had to, you know, ask Seamus where we're going next week, like, you know, and then, you know, we're home. Oh, great, you know. So I think when you look at it, if you start looking at stretches like, hey, we need to win 4 of the next 5. We're not at a point for that. There is a point in time when you say, hey, you know what, guys? It's that time. There's not an infinite number of games. There's 4 games left in the year. We need to make hay, but we're not there. I don't think you can do that, especially in a 20-game schedule. I mean, we're still just, you know, I mean, getting in the middle of it. It's hard to believe it's already the 3rd week of January.
Have you put yourself in an okay spot to this point?
I think we're just okay. Yeah, I thought we picked up one, you know, a winning at Indiana, but you know, we need to make some plays at home too against some of these big schools coming in.
What problems kind of just the league overall this year? I mean, is this deep as it's maybe been?
Yeah, I really do. I thought that when I got here, we were the #1 league in the country. I think those first 2 years, I thought our elite teams were certainly elite, and now I think the depth. If you look at last night, Penn State has not won a game. I mean, really had Minnesota dead to rights. I mean, every way, shape, and form. And then things go haywire on them right at the end. And that's the way this league is. I don't think there's any, you know, one opponent that you can say, oh, yeah. I mean, it's just Rutgers, who, you know, has got one win in the conference, and it's against a ranked opponent. So you just have to be ready to go every night out. That's why I don't think you can look at a stretch and say, oh, we need to get this many games right now. I think when we know what's at stake and there's a finite number of games, then you can say, hey, we need to win the Big Ten tournament or whatever it might be. But right now, we just have to keep getting better, keep getting better.
What problem does a guy like Geo Baker present to you guys?
Yeah, good one-on-one player. You saw at the end of the Ohio State game, made a great play. They just went 5 out or 1-4 low, and he made a great one-on-one move. You know, he and Sanders were that way last year, except he's got a little more responsibility, maturity. He's a guy that can get away from you in transition, and he can go get hot. So we want to make sure he doesn't get off to a quick start.
It doesn't really have anything to do with anything, but when you go, when you go,
As opposed to,
well, when you go 1-3-1, what do you like about what you get from that, and why a 1-3-1 and not like a 2-3?
yeah, we have a 2-3 too. I just don't use it. A 2-3 also. We just don't use it as much. We do it in practice. I like the 1-3-1. I like our length. I think it stops penetration, and usually it gives them a little bit of an off-kilter kind of attack. You know, it's not as much rhythm. There's more of a gap standing around, space. So it's a different type of 3 also.
Can you use that to shield people if they're in foul trouble as well? Like
Yeah,
you would with the 2-3?
what's concerning, I think you can shield foul trouble in the 2-3 better than the 1-3-1, especially with the way we play it, because we expose our nail guy, who is usually one of our guys in foul trouble.
If I remember correctly, you and Chris Mack.
Yeah, I called Chris Mack on it 4 years ago. I'm like, here's what I want to do. This one, but I want to go 1-3-1, but I like the way you do it with keeping, stacking your bigs, because I want to keep them at home because I want to stop penetration. And so he and I talked about it. He gave me some of their rules, and I'll never forget. Like the 4th rule was, figure it out, and that's about right. I mean, there's some things that you just can't have a rule for. Sometimes in a zone you say, well, we guard an overload this way, we guard a skip pass that way. When it goes here, we're going to trap. And the 1-3-1, there are some things like that, but also there's some things in our 1-3-1 that you just got to figure out, and you got to know the game plan. So it goes back to our scouting report and everything with that. So we prepare a little bit for our 1-3-1, and a lot of it for man, but it's not like we're just throwing it out there.
Is there other times when you guys still chat and tinker with it and help each other?
I think I just say, I've always said, hey, Chris, I really like that 1-3-1 you gave us, and it's been good for us.
And Mir has been working his way back slowly but surely. I guess, what are you able to do with him now, and how do you manage what he can provide?
He's 100% in terms of in terms of ready to go. He's still a little underweight, but what he really provides, I think, when his mindset is great, is his defensive intensity and his ability to rebound. And that's where you have that guard that can go in and help board. That's why I think he's important for us as we go down throughout the conference year.
So fatigue isn't an issue with him, like as far as endurance, working that back.
Are you fatigued? Yeah, I think he's good.
How did he kind of handle having to just go through that and sit out?
Well, that's hard. What's really hard too is, as you're getting your strength back, now you've sat out so long. Like you think of, we probably, 5-6 games without him, and then triple the practices. So the guys are up and running, and you're just trying to get your energy back. So I think the speed of the game and just your rhythm really affects your confidence and everything like that. And we need to get him out there. And I think the better his mindset when it comes to defense and rebounding, the better off he is for us.
Coach, how do you think James will respond this next game, and what would you like to see from him specifically over the next couple of games?
Yeah, I want to see good shots out of him. James is a playmaker, and he acts like it, which is why sometimes he puts himself and our team in some difficult situations. But that's why we roll him out there too. Is that's a responsibility for him. It's a great opportunity also. I want him to take great shots.